Now it's your turn. When you read How the Bat Got Wings, think about what happens in the beginning, middle, and end of the story. Be ready to recount or retell the story by telling key events in order. Now let's look at the folk tale. I'm going to show you what it looks like. Okay, here's our folk tale, How the Bat Got Wings, a Cherokee Nation tale. Before we read, there's a little hint down here. It says, which details would you include to recount the story? If you have a paper copy, you can underline the most important details, or you can just jot them down if you're looking at the copy on a computer. I'm going to give you some time to read this story. When you're ready to read, pause this video. When you're done reading, press play, and I will help you with the rest. Okay, now that you've read the folk tale, let's move on to the next page. This little guy over here tells us, when you get ready to recount a story, choose the most important details. Number 1 helps us think about it first. It says, number the items to show the order of some events in the story. So this tells you 3 things that happened in the story. It wants you to put a number 1, 2, and 3, but you have to make sure you put them in order. Number 2 also helps you think about the story. It says, why do the birds win the game? So you're going to choose A, B, C, or D. You can have a minute to think about those and work on them right now. Now let's talk about it. Number 3 says, using key details from the text, talk to your partner about how the bat's way of flying helps the birds win. If I want to turn this question around to talk about it, I see the question word how. So I want to get rid of the question word. The rest of the sentence says, the bat's way of flying helps the birds win by. That's how you can turn the question around to talk about it. After you're done, we're going to write about it. Number 4 says, short response. In your own words, recount what happens when the bat plays the game with the birds. Be sure to include the most important details from the story. Use the space provided on page 113 to write your answer. That just means we're going to write it on the next page. Now there's a big hint over here. This does not ask you to recount the whole story. It asks you to recount what happens when the bat plays the game with the birds. So right here it tells you to review the game in paragraphs 5 to 8. Remember, you can always go back and look at the story to help you find your answer. Before we write, you can draw a 3 chart to help organize your writing. But I typed one up really quickly to show you how to do it. Let's look. Here's the short response. In your own words, recount what happens when the bat plays the game with the birds. Be sure to include the most important details from the story. First, we're going to turn the question around. So it wants you to recount what happens when the bat plays the game with the birds. So what happens is kind of like the question that it's asking you. So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to copy my TTQA. When the bat plays the game with the birds, we're going to write about a few things that happen. So I'm going to say many things happen. Now remember, I can look at those paragraphs in the story, and I'm going to talk about what happens first when the bat plays the game with the birds, what happens next when the bat plays the game with the birds, and finally, what happens when the bat plays the game with the birds. You can explain what this shows over here, and then at the very end, we have our closing sentence / clincher. And remember, I can use my TTQA to help me write my closing sentence or my clincher. So I'm going to say, this is, and remember my question was, what happens? And I'm not going to do it for you, but I want you to finish this closing sentence or clincher. Use your TTQA to help you. When you're all done, you can write your answer right here. All right. Check your writing at the end. Make sure you work hard and try your best. Good luck.